The navy at this time was running in disarray from where Saint Saturn had set foot. Only vice admirals or rear admirals could stay to assist. Others were forbidden to look upon his holy countenance. Saint Saturn, who stood above all, unexpectedly took action directly like this. As for Bonney, after successfully stabbing the enemy, she was advised by Dr. Vegapunk to stay away from that guy. The navy, seeing one of the world's most powerful figures injured, was also angry, and everyone was ready to attack, making the situation worse. Bonney cursed the opponent and as a result was punished. He used his eyes to shoot some kind of energy beam that severely injured her and sent her flying far away. Sanji saw this scene and immediately rushed in, but still couldn't do anything. Their opponent was strong beyond imagination. Frankie saw his teammate taken down in an instant and didn't act rashly. As soon as he pulled the sword out of the person, all the wounds were healed. This is the ability of one of the world's top 5 people. The navy then rushed in wanting to arrest Dr. Vegapunk and the others. However, Saint Saturn ordered them to stop, because they couldn't escape anymore. So there was no need to rush. He wanted to play around for a while longer because he had come here himself anyway. Admiral Kizaru was also scolded for not being like him at all. He couldn't justify himself. His whole body was trembling after the attack from Luffy. Thinking he wouldn't be able to move for a while. Looking at the main character, he was also exhausted and couldn't move. Saint Saturn was about to stab with his foot to see what would happen. But Frankie was faster and punched the captain flying far away. The opponent saw this and judged them to be wise pirates who knew how to cooperate. The robot friend curiously asked, "Even someone at the top of the world wants our captain's head?" This proved that Luffy is very special. The appearance of the main character and Bonney in this battle was not expected. If they could escape the island after being completely surrounded by the navy. He also wanted to witness that. However, things would become troublesome if that happened. And Dr. Vegapunk, who had betrayed the world government, he is a great danger if he gains freedom. Saint Saturn had to thank him for his contributions to the navy so far. So he would grant a special privilege. He asked him to name the names in order from least painful to most painful to eliminate each person. He wanted Dr. Vegapunk to suffer and die in regret for daring to betray the world government. Luffy was the first victim to suffer damage. Bonney then woke up and tried to struggle but was increasingly choked. Saint Saturn wondered why humans always want to do forbidden things. Sanji couldn't stand it and rushed forward again. But at this moment, all of their actions were restrained. No one could move, let alone save someone. Everyone was shocked by the overwhelming power of one of the most powerful people. Although the girl suffered a lot of damage, she still bravely cursed the person who killed her father. Mentioning Kuma, this guy called him a high-class slave, and a descendant of a tribe that had committed serious crimes against the world. The only survivor of the extinct pirate race. The past memories came back to Bonney. Kuma had wanted to become a hero who could save the oppressed and suffering. Like Nika the warrior of liberation. Joyful dances appeared. The navy had prepared to give her the death sentence. Dr. Vegapunk tried to beg because she was still just a child. Bonney was very tired at this time. Trying to remember the last beautiful images. She wondered if the warrior of liberation would come to save her. Going back 47 years ago to the Sorbet Kingdom. On that day a large boy was born in a small village. His father and mother also named their son Kuma. And asked the doctor to keep their bloodline a secret. He was a good person and promised not to tell anyone. So don't worry. Time passed peacefully for the whole family. About 4 years later, Kuma had grown a bit. But on that day, something terrible happened. The kind doctor rushed to inform Clapp and his wife, advising them to leave immediately because government agents had found them. Upon hearing this, the couple's faces instantly changed color. But they couldn't do anything. Government henchmen had arrived and threatened them. They demanded that everyone follow them obediently if they didn't want to die right there. As a result, there was a struggle, but the victory still belonged to the other group. Clapp tried to plead for his wife and child because they were innocent. Only he possessed the Buccaneer bloodline. However, no matter how much he begged, it was useless. The whole family was escorted to a detention center. Kuma was still young and didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. He was still protected by his parents, waiting for the day of judgment. As a result, all three were separated in the Holy Land. His mother left advice for her son to live his own life. And no matter how difficult it was, he should try to overcome it. His father smiled and said that their family would meet again, so he should be strong. Son. From then on, Kuma's life as a slave began. Every day, the boy had to follow unreasonable orders from his master. Because he was a buccaneer slave, Kuma himself was considered rare. But he was still tortured and beaten mercilessly. The boy endured, waiting for the day he would be reunited with his parents. Time passed, and for the slaves, it was nothing short of hell. One day, his father was brought here, so the two of them met. Seeing the wounds on his father's body, Kuma was extremely worried. Mr. Clapp acted as if he was fine and praised his son for growing up so much. When asked about the current situation, the boy lied. He said that his master was very kind, so his father didn't need to worry. Their circumstances forced a boy who was only a few years old to mature quickly, both in spirit and body, to overcome all the pain. When his mother was mentioned, his father sadly sat down and told the truth, that his mother was no longer in this world. He himself thought this was the best way to free his wife. Kuma cried out in pain after hearing this. He had endured until today just to see his mother, but she was gone. The two of them couldn't hold back their tears but still had to try to overcome it. Kuma was told to continue living because one day the warrior of liberation would come, and he would save him from this hell. The boy, however, thought it would be better if he died. Clapp told him about the sun god Nika, the name of the legendary warrior associated with a smile on his face. In the legacy of the Buccaneers, it has been recorded for generations that one day the sun god will come and take them out to a place of warm sunlight and free seas. He also danced the dance of Nika, the warrior who always smiled, and he would make everyone smile along with his cheerful rhythm. Kuma looked at him and was a little happier. But immediately after, the boy had to face the pain of losing his last relative. A celestial dragon, seeing that the slaves were too noisy, fired a gun and took the life of his father. A few years later, those in power landed on an island. They wanted to play a game of hunting the local people. This place was not connected to the world government, so it was chosen, and that was God Valley about 38 years ago. This place was known as the Valley of God and also possessed rich resources. Those in power decided to take over this place. The king here could not accept it and cursed them as crazy for using innocent people's lives for entertainment. As soon as he finished speaking, he was slashed by Saint Garling, who was the top candidate in the hunt and had to start with minus 10,000 points. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention, Kuma bent the iron cage to free himself. However, immediately after, news of an escaped slave was reported. The other slaves were forced to go find and bring Kuma back. Not wanting to die here, the poor boy continued to run far away. The pain of losing his parents surged, making Kuma cry non-stop. However, at this time, the other slaves arrived with weapons. They were afraid of being implicated, so they beat the child to bring him back. Kuma didn't want to return to that hell anymore and struggled to get up. As a result, he was beaten unconscious and dragged back. From above, two other children at this time laughed loudly and stopped the group of people. They were also slaves like Kuma and wanted to be free. After hearing that this boy possessed the blood of giants, Ivankov and Ginny were very interested. Despite suffering a lot, these two people still maintained a cheerful attitude, calling the others pathetic because they didn't dare to save themselves. Being called a kid, Ginny bit a piece of meat and shouted, asking if they wanted to live or die. Everyone replied that they wanted to live, so they were invited to join the team. These two people wanted to create a miracle. And if they follow, we have a great plan here.